Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody. Welcome on into the Dragon's Den. My name's Digital Dragon, and I'm here this evening. How's everybody doing? You may have received a bad stream title. When I went live, I forgot to change the title for the stream, so it may be saying the DFH Trident 350 build series. That is not it today. We are going to be working on the back on the Micron build series right now. And so, with that being said, let me go ahead and switch the screens so that you can see where we're at with the Micron build. And this is kind of where we're at. We've got the printer put together. I did work on the umbilical some. I literally used the wrong gland on this, and I had to take the gland back off, which meant I just said the heck with it and depinned the 4-pin connector, the microfit 4-pin connector up here on the tool head, so I could swap the glands out, put the right gland in this one. The other one that I originally put here goes over on the Fade Dragon to go with the Kinetic Labs carbon fiber kit. So I put that back in place, and I did notice that the wire was a little floppy between the 4 wires. So I added a bit of cable shroud after one of the smaller wires broke right at the connector. So I had to cut off the ends of the small wires, the actual CAN bus wires, and re-crimp those. Hey, Atreides Minis, welcome on in. Welcome on in. The other thing that I just worked on today was the cable chain. I actually had the wrong direction. So I just basically had to undo it and swap the ends and swap it end for end. But that was a pretty easy fix. Other than that, we rotate this around a bit, and you will notice that our tool head wiring is complete. And what I decided to do was on our thermistor wire, I took everybody's suggestion and just trimmed the end and resoldered a couple of extension wires to make it get around there. And that was it. One of the other things, and I'll bring you guys in a little closer. Hey, Danny Barr, how are you? Welcome on in. So having the 2-into-1 works well. It just adds a lot of bulk right here with as short as they made that pigtail. In the past, I've done it a little bit differently where I'm able to bunch this up on a side or something where it would be out of the way. Same thing with my X cable wires. They're not long enough to loop around the front side and join up with the other wires in either way. So it kind of has to come up and around the back of the extrusion. I don't necessarily like that. It could be a rubbing point there, so you've got to leave a little bit of slack. But I did tighten it up with the sensor wires back here to try and keep this into a smaller package of wires. What else? What else? Don't know. Everything's wired in. What I did was so normally I put my X in-stop wires on this top row of headers, which is the I2C connectors. I've had issues with them being down here before, but I've checked and it does work here. This is the way the pre-made cable was for the X, where I put it. And then my wires for the probe go down here at the bottom, and it's ground, power, signal. And it's on a DuPont connector, so there's a little bit of wiggle to it, which I don't necessarily like, but it's worked that way pretty well on every EBB 36 that I've used, and I haven't had any issues with them, so we should be good to go there. Let's see. The other thing that I encountered was my tool head was not sitting flat. It had a bit of a tilt back back. It was leaning back some. And I figured out what it was this cable here, which is um, the heater cable. You see, I got into um, this extra sheathing when I cut the zip tie. It was too tight, so I had to cut the zip tie, pull it out, and as soon as I did, I was able to screw the another couple of turns on each screw on the front, and then I retied it so it's out there on the side. It's out of the way, so things are going well there. Now, the one other issue I encountered when I was doing some initial testing, this end stop, and it could have been because I haven't tried it out since I moved this cable here and allowed the mini stealth burner frame to sit vertical, is coming over to the side here. The X end stop, if it's all the way in the front position, the stealth burner casing here hits the idler before the end stop triggers. So that's something we'll have to look out for. And it's just making sure that our park position should be somewhere near the back so that whenever we're done with a print and we either cancel a print or we end a print, we don't want our tool head all the way towards the front, because if it tries to home X first, it hits the tensioner side here before the end stop hits. Then we just go ka-chunk, 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 and eventually it'll. Okay. So with that said, got to remember I need to lay this down on its side because I can't lay it down on its back because that's where the switch is. But all the wiring underneath is done up. It's clean. Everything's validated as working. I did have an issue with the Z stepper motors. Every time I started to do a stepper buzz, we would throw an error on the Z stepper motors. And what you're saying, but it didn't do it on the A and B. Well, we've got different wiring here, obviously, because the A and B was colored wired, the others all black. And I tested out the pairs, and the pairs were set up as 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, and it should be 1A, 2A, 1B, 2B, or something like that. So the A and B should be side to side. So I just swapped the middle pins on the 4Z connectors, and everything was working right as rain again. The only thing we have left to do from an electronic standpoint is our side fan, and then running our side fan cables down into one of the fan connectors. That's the only thing we need to do. For right now, though, well, excuse me, that and the display. Those are the only things that we need to do. So let's go ahead and work on putting those things together. But how's everybody doing this evening? Hopefully everybody's doing well. Now, once again, I'm kind of going, I'll say semi off script here because no part of the manual covers the screen stuff, right? It doesn't cover the skirts at all. So doing the skirts, it's standard Voron, other than the fact that we're not using heat set insert. So on the one side, we're going to have our fan covers, and you've got one part of the fan cover that's thicker. That, of course, is going to be situated to the side of the fan cover where there's nothing to screw into. And then you'll have one of the back pieces, and that's just going to go right in the back there. And we're going to screw into the plastic using M3 screw. Pretty straightforward there. Doing the fan side, though, the fans themselves, we're going to have to put M3 heat set inserts into, and then do the same basic thing into the four corners. So I'm assuming we're going to be using M3x8s here, so I'll get a bunch of those out. And can everybody hear me? Good news is I am seeing the mic. I've had a rash of days lately where I've started streaming and then realized that I did not unmute the mics. Okay. When I start doing these, I never really tighten the first one all the way up just to give me an opportunity to try and get them all lined up before I really start tightening these down. We are going through several printed parts, and you might find that your print tolerance isn't as well as you thought, or that you had a little bit of a elephant's foot on a part. You could go through with a, so like this screw is not screwing in that easy. So either I'm not aligned or I need to just run a reamer through it to open the hole up some. In this case, I just wasn't aligned. And we are doing these through plastic, so there's no need to really take down on these. And I did not print the logos. You do have the ability to print these with the logos in them. I did not, for whatever reason. I believe this one had logos in it as an option. So how are you doing today at Tradies Minis? And how about you, Danny Barr? How's your day going and your week so far? A little bit of a slow week for me so far, but I have a feeling it's going to pick up here in a few days. That one. Yeah, we're going to try and install these real fast, and then we'll get on to going through the initial startup and printing with this. I'm not going to do the screen today just because in order to do the screen, the DSI connector for the CB1 module on the Manta M8P is underneath the board. So I'm going to have to physically dismount the board from the DIN rail to try and get that DSI cable connected, which is kind of a pain. I can do it on stream if everybody wants me to, but since we'll have movement on stream, I didn't think it would be necessary to watch me then take the printer back apart just so that we can get the display cable installed. Okay, so that part's there. Now we do have printed inserts that'll fit in here, or should, so we'll see if we can't get that to go in here without a hitch. We might need to do a little bit of filing to get a good fit on here. Starting to get in there. And there we go. One micron side panel. So we'll do the other side, but when we go to do this other side, we need to do some, like I said, some heat set inserts. So let me get things ever so slightly around to get our heat set insert machine up here. And the big thing on these is just making sure you understand which way your airflow is. Most fans will have it marked on the side, little arrows, and if not, then I will say that almost always the fan moves from the side without the sticker to the side with the sticker. So this will be the outside face. So that's where we want to put in um, our actual heat sets. When you go to put these in, be aware of your wires on your fan and just be careful and slow and methodical. You don't want to burn those wires. Get you guys in here a little bit better. Take a knee here just so I can watch what I'm doing. These will be countersunk in there a little bit more because coming in from this side, it's a little countersunk to start with. And be mindful of where your wire is. Just be careful when you get to install the one closest to the wires. One wire or the one heat set by the wires is going to get, that whole area will get fairly hot. And we have an ad break getting ready to start in about a minute. We need to get these ready to go and then work on getting these installed. Go ahead and get that out of the way. And let's start with doing our, whoops. Let us start with doing our little symbol first before we get too far into this. It is a pretty snug friction fit there. There's the symbol. And this is how this is going to get mounted. So we want to be cognizant of that when we go to place our fans in here. So with this mounted at the extrusion, we want to try and get our fan wire up here in the top so that we can easily pull it around and have a good amount of length. And we'll do the same one or the same thing with the other one with the wire coming over here. We can bring around. So get that lined up. We'll get our fan shroud. Once again, the thick portion, the one thick side of the fan shroud goes where the red part's not. And that's probably going to be the easiest place for us to start a screw. Even though it's not connecting the pieces together, it's going to be a good alignment peg. Hey, Westery One, how's it going? Silverback Creations, welcome on in. Welcome, 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 everybody. We are working on the final couple of pieces that need to be installed on our Micron build. And we did the faux fan panel side already. And this side is the actual fans. So this is the only part of the electronics that is not installed yet. Excuse me, this and the actual touch screen. Now, in order to put the touch screen on here for clipper screen, I do have to take the manta board off, because the DSI connector for the manta boards is on the back side of the board. So, oh, thanks, Silverback. Yeah, we've got everything on here and ready to go. It's that time where we're kind of in the final steps to get everything set up. So, yeah, this is kind of like the twilight hour for a machine build, where we're just basically closing up loose ends. I mean, we still have to put on the panels and everything, but I normally like to leave it open and exposed so that I can work on any mechanical or electrical things before really closing things in with panels. So tonight's plan will be to go through the commissioning process. I will tell you that it is moving, and I've figured out a couple of things already. The Z motors were penned out of phase for this board, so I had to swap the center two pins. Not that big of a deal, just unplug the connector, swap the center two pins, and plug it back in. And then play with directions and, step and enable pin directions and flipper to get it to move in the right direction. But I will tell you, we're homing. I've quad gantry leveled it. I have experienced one issue with the homing that we're going to have to still figure out. But other than that, we are pretty good to go right now. We'll need 2 of these to mount the side panels. Flip this up and over. Trying to move you guys a little bit closer here. And so the way we work this is we don't want to put our fans right on this side because there's too much block in it before it gets to any of the things we want to cool down. So we're going to put the fans on this side. So we'll have direct airflow over our stepper motors. And we should have somewhere one more of our M3 nuts in here. Whoop, there it is. Went right on past. Let me see if I can't get. Come on out. There we go. That's the problem with the trying to get your last M3 screws out or your M3 nuts is they kind of up underneath the ends, and it's hard to get them out. But we're going to get this started. We're not going to do it all the way. We're just going to get it started. Once again, this is the side that'll have our fan, and you'll see that it's got that kind of hook set up. That's going to go under that M3 screw, under the screw head. If I can get the screw head lined up. Do it a little bit. So for those of you that are interested, I did finally make a Twitter post about the birthday stream coming on the 10th of February. And we will be having a few prizes that day that some of our channel supporters have been nice enough to provide to us. So definitely, if you're interested in getting your hands on some cool stuff to try out, then come on out and join us. I'm trying to figure out why this is not lining up. I think I've got everything up in another way. Definitely not hitting on anything I can tell. There we go. It was the fact that I was trying to get the blue lined up and it's not going to line up. It's the red that's lining up. And so my driver back. There we go. We've got our 2 wires now. Now our option is we could bring these and join them together and then just bring one over to the fan and just use one fan port. But since we're not using 2 of these fan ports for our hot end and cooling fan, what I've done in the past and what I'm going to do on this build is let me try and bring you guys a little bit closer in here, raise you up, get you a better view of the electronics in up and down. Okay, so normally we would join these 2 fans together into one cable and we would plug them in. So you would have your fan connectors here. So you would have your part cool or your part cooling fan and your hot end fan. And then your third connector here is normally for your controller fans. And you've got a couple of options. You can plug them into here, join them together, plug them into here, making sure that you've got your voltage set. So the top set of jumpers would be 5 volt, the middle is 12, and the bottom is input voltage, in this case 24 volt. And we have 24-volt fans. The other thing you could do is join them together, and there's a 2-pin connector right here between motors, what, 5 and 6. And that's an always on constant fan, which means your fan will always be on, right? Normally what I do is I will take these two and I'll either join them with uh, a 3x2 parallel connector from whatchamacallit, LDO, or I will just solder them together and use one of the pigtails, like cut them here, solder the reds together and the blacks together, and then just use one of the clip pigtails to bring it in. But we also have, like I said, since we're not using those other fans, we can bring one of these into the third one like we were planning. And we could bring the other one into, say, fan 2 or fan 1 if we start off with V0. So we're going into VFan 1, VFan 2, right? We can just take these wires and tuck them in. And then we can go in into our configuration and make sure that we do a configuration for both sets of these wires into these two fan ports. Now what that leaves is that leaves VFan 4. If I do a like Nevermore or a bento box or something like that for air filtration within the enclosed space, I could just bring that into fan 4 and use that without having to go into any of my 3-pin fans that are down here. So just something to think about. Actually, I can go into 3 and 4, and then there is how does that work? 0, 1, 2, 3. Fan 4 is down here. So I can go into 2 and 3 for the side skirt fans, and I can go down into V4 for like I said, the Nevermore, a bento box, whatever type of air filtration system I'm going to add in here is what I can do. Now, I haven't seen either one of those that works for a Micron yet, so I'm going to have to see how to do that. That's cool. You're doing a couple of more enders for your Print Farm Silverback. Nice. And yes, my birthday is February 10th. That is my actual physical real life birthday. It's February 10th. So, I was going to say, before I do that, let me put this other one up here and figure out where my M3 nut's at. Apparently it's up under this side. Whoop, there it is. Just went, darn it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put something here as a stopper and try and bring that back down here. There we go. Apparently I've got 2 in here and I only need 1. Bears. That out. I'll put this on, and then, like I said, we just need to get it started a little bit, and then we should be able to slide this piece up underneath it. I'm going to get it in position. There we go. Okay, now that's good to go. Now there are a couple of heat sets that need to go in here on the rear panel. I got the ones added on the sides here, but I need to make sure and figure out how to do the mounting for the screen before I do anything else. And it looks like these little tabs will go on each side, and they'll provide a spot to um, attach in from here, which means I probably need to take this front back off, and I'm going to have to find a couple more. I don't know if I've got them in there or if I'm going to have to try and do some roll-in nuts, which I think that's what I'm going to have to do, is find some roll-in nuts or the slide-in nuts from LDO to see if I can't get them here on the front to get the screen mounted. And while we're in here, I wonder, because once again, that DSI connection is underneath this board. So I'm going to have to take off the octopus board to try and get to the connector. So I just wonder if I can get the octopus board off now that I've put everything in place. Maybe. Come on. Oh, there we go. There we go. So here's where you see we've got our display connector, camera, and then an SPI screen. So I need to figure out, I'm pretty sure this was a DSI screen. No, it's TFT SPI screen. So we'll go into the SPI connector. This connector, the dark piece of the connector just flips up. And I believe these go up or down, up or down. Darn it, it would be just like the LDO screen. We pop the LDO and up real fast. LDO document wiring guide, that'll work. Show you what I'm looking at. Hey, Pez Liz, how you doing? Oh, your birthday is February 11th. Nice, Silverback. I'll tell you my age if you tell me yours. No, LDO is not a SPI screen. There's this Big Tree Tech, TFT 35. Version 2.1. Work with CV1. We'll have to do some configuration stuff to make it work. That's good to know. Now I need to know physical install, which way the cable goes. Oh, why don't you show me physical install? Nope, don't care about that. Version 1 users. Dang. Do these go with the pins up or the pins down? This side definitely goes with the pins down. Of course, that's the old ones. You were born in 72, maybe 92, maybe. Really? Yes, I was born in 72. There's the hint. So I'm turning 52. How you doing, Pez? I caught you on stream last night. You were doing good. I was not. You were that. There you go. Yeah, math in public. Math in public. Um, I can never remember on these ribbon cables. I believe it goes down, so you should be seeing the blue. And what you do with these? I guess we'll figure it out one way or the other here real fast. EFT 35 SPI V2.1. Anybody want to show me my? Well, I show the darn cable install. I love it. They're like, you must be very careful and put the cable in the wrong or in the right direction so you do not damage anything. But they don't actually show you. Oh, 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 there we go. Loose side of the cable facing up. There we go. That's what we needed. So with that decided and figured out now, whew, that was painful. What we want to do is we'll get our one end of our cable and we're going into the SPI display, which is a thinner cable. You want to put the cable into the slot. Okay, get in the slot. For you being so you have to get it lined up in there just right, and it says to kind of wiggle it back and forth to make sure that it's in there right and fully. And then you'll flip this clip back up. So it's in there. They can flip that clip back up and give it the little pull test, and it's pulling okay. Nothing's coming out. So now we've got to try and wiggle our board back in here and not damage any of our wires in said process of getting our board back in here. Both sides in, let's clip it down. Feel like that. And down, flipped, slide it back down there. Wiring as neat as possible. Now that way, when our display gets put in here, we'll be able to fish this cable through and get this added. Once again, the blue side is going to go up when we put it in the. And we're going to have to do, as we noticed, a little bit of work in the software. So we'll keep that up so that we can pull that software out here in a second and get it fixed. Meanwhile, we're going to try and get our rubber ducky working. All right, rubber ducky works. We'll add that to the collection. We will flip this over again. Now, all of our wiring should be good. I am going to, for the time being, we'll go ahead and just plug this cable in so we can try and get our screen to work. This is that different one that has to lift up. So be careful, lift it up on both sides, be very gentle. Once again, we're going to put our wire in with the blue side facing up. And once again, you want to move it side to side to make sure that it's centered. And then pull both sides down at the same time. And missed my cable, so we'll try that again. There we go. Cable's down in there fully. Pull this down. Lock that cable in. So we're good. We're just going to set this down here and we'll figure out which orientation it goes in by following our install directions. But we should be able to see screen when we plug this in. Hopefully. So we are plugged in. We're going to power on. We are getting power to the screen, so that's good. May not actively see anything on the screen, don't know. Back here to the GitHub because we know we're going to have to do some environments. Regardless of whether we get anything here, our board itself should boot up. Should pull the same IP address. Hey, Timor, welcome on in. Stay warm and dry, Westery. Hey, Z, how's it going? Glad you joined the party. Z and Z, no, it's Z and Z is a happy place of distraction. Yeah, I hear you there. I know it was really rough trying to get back into a routine after coming back from work or coming back from break. And of course, we came back to work. We worked a week, which was kind of a dead week. A lot of people were still on vacation, extended vacation. And then we had a 4-day week the next week, which was just crazy. So it's been hard trying to get back into the swing of things at work. Let me see if our interface is coming up. The good thing is it's trying. The bad thing is that it could just be that we don't have the board environment stuff set up. And the printer itself is hanging in the boot because of it. Any news on your China order for ERCFA 2? Let me check real fast, Timor. Let me check real fast. Okay, let me check. If for whatever reason the orders shipped, partially shipped. So import customs clearance complete, departed from customs, received by local delivery company. So it says it's still at US Customs. So one of them, it's showing like next week, like this weekend into next week. So we'll have to see. We see where Micron, it might have changed IP addresses. Okay, so I am not seeing Micron even on here. It should show up as Micron. So we'll give it a refresh. That was one. And the other one, still saying estimated the same thing, but I don't think it's even left China yet. Yeah, that hasn't even made it to left China, but it hasn't made it to customs. So I should have, I believe it's the SE lead kit um, by this weekend at the earliest, next week sometime. So here's the thing. It's not picking up an IP address, so I'm going to say it hung in boot. So I'm going to remove the display because I need it to boot. Otherwise, I can't even, yeah, it's an SPI screen. I'm just going to power cycle it. This is the SPI screen. And I know I need to set some environment variables, but obviously I think it's not even going to boot with the screen installed. It just won't get through the boot. And I need the CB1 to boot up so that I can set some boot environment and variables. I've got a few of them working on other builds already. That's not a big deal. Like I said, it's just a matter of getting the CB1 to boot because I've had it up and moving already. Really, probably not be showing you all my IP addresses and stuff and devices I have on here. There it is. It's back up now. So that's what it was, is the boot was being hung by the screens. Now what we'll do is we'll bring up the yeah, I'll boot into it and I'll bring you back over here to the full display. So we are booted into the Micron Plus now. And what I need to do is come into the interface. So it's a CB1. So the default credentials are BQ, BQ. I haven't changed them yet. And whoops, downloaded the document because it'll be easier that way. Trying to get it. I don't know why. Sometimes PDF manuals will load in GitHub, sometimes they don't. I tend to always download them because it's easier that way. Sorry for the desk scroll. We currently only support CB1 2.2.0 and earlier, or excuse me, yeah, and earlier, or excuse me, CB1 and version 2.2 and earlier do not support blah, 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 2.2.1 do. We are running the latest version of the OS image. We do need to come in here and update the board environment TXT and uncomment something. So we're in our CB1. So now let's go ahead and sudo, got to sudo because this is a root level file / boot board env. Board env.txt. Oh, I guess if I do sudo nano / board env.txt. Okay, that seems like a blank file. So where am I missing? Is it under boot? Yeah, it's under. Darn it. So let's do /boot. Could be a lowercase boot. There we go. And all we're going to do is scroll down here until we find the overlays TFT 35 SPI, which is right there. We're going to delete that colon, and let's see if there's anything else we need to do. That appears to be it. So we'll make sure that we're up here. We'll do our Control X. Yes to save what's in the buffer. Keep the same name. And then we'll reboot now. And I probably should have did a shutdown versus a reboot. Now let me wait for it to reboot. Shut it down through main sales so I can plug in the screen. Hit Skyfire. Yeah, it's just the thing I got to remember is you have to update the stuff in the boot env, otherwise it will hang and it will not boot. And if it doesn't boot, you can't do anything else. So because this involves power, I do not want to install that cable with the machine on. So we're going to say to shut down. We'll give it a couple of seconds to do its right. And then we'll physically power down the system. Once again, we'll wait a couple of seconds to let any capacitors drain. And then we're going to install our cable again, once again, with the, make sure our clip here is fully open and the blue to be facing up. And make sure that we get this fully pushed in there. Oops. Seriously, come on. I feel like I'm playing an angle game with the actual cable, like too high or too low physically trying to insert it. There we go. So we got it up. We got it all the way in there. We're just going to pull these clips down, screw it in there, give it a little tug, make sure it's good. Now we should be able to turn it back on. And let's see if we get something other than just a blue screen. Hey, we got the BL Touch screen. Get the BL Touch splash screen. Chugga, come on. And there's our clipper screen. And we're fully up. We've got clipper screen and we've got full browser. So we're good to go. We still have the screen protector on here. I'm not going to take that off until I do the mount for the screen. But we should be able to use our touch interface now. Well, I guess I'll take the screen protector off now if I'm going to do the touch interface. Very nice. We'll say move, home, or home all. We're going to check and see if we're going to have that issue. See, this is the issue that I had before. And that was if the tool head is all the way forward, it hits the idler and it just doesn't make connection on the X end stop. But if we're back just a bit, it'll be able to go the rest of the way to make connection. So that's an issue that we'll have to deal with. We'll just have to manually remember that if we're fully forward here. And I did check all the way back, is almost all the way back. So this is about the right place for the bed. Loop is working, by the way. Now, if we do quad gantry level, we'll go through and do the quad gantry level. Now, on most of my other printers, I have it set up to do my G32 sequence is home, all axes, quad gantry level, home, all axes. Well, the problem with that is once it does its quad gantry level, the last point is over here at the front right. The issue with that is then it would try and home right to the right, hit the idler, and we have that issue. So I've modified it so that it only does a rehome of X, not a full home at the end of my G32 sequence, which is then called out in my print start sequence. So that piece and where's the other? We see if I can find my panels real fast. Because I might want to do the rear panel before I run the, well, I guess I should run the, run a print test before I put any panels on, I guess. So I'm just going to need a little bit of PTFE tubing. And by a little bit, this is how much they gave me, so plenty. I think I'm just going to run a short stack. Zombie, have you just not had good luck with the SPI screens, or what's been your issue with the SPI screens? That there, we'll need one of these. Of course, we'll grab this. Come up and over. Hey, Aaron, how's it going? Yeah, it is a little bit slower to respond as far as when you're hitting things. So once again, we'll have to home Z, but it's a CB1 module, so we'll just run it that way. That down there, bring some filament. Actually, we probably want to just run the filament straight in because we haven't done ay, 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 ay. Raise up. We got a few things to do. Okay. On our initial setup page, once again, we go through the Voron. Yeah, you just do without screens on your printers. The biggest issue I have is I can run prints at a show if I have a clipper screen. If I don't, then I have to go over Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi, at least at Earth, was horrendous. Um, so I do like, and a kit came with it, so kind of like, okay, we'll just put it on there. Our temperatures are working. The heating elements heat up. I've tested that. We've got it going in the right direction, of course, and I've got it zeroed in as far as the front left corner goes for 0. So what we need to do now is PID tuning. I don't need to figure out where the end stop pin is. I've done probe calibrate and probe accuracy to find the 0 point. There's kind of a lot of these checks that kind of go away when you're using tap or boop because you don't use that end stop. We did the probe accuracy, or I have done the probe accuracy. There we go, PID tuning. Let's do the PID tune for the bed. Now, I'm not going to PID tune the bed to 100C because one, there's a vent straight above this, and two, I'm not enclosed, and I really honestly just don't want to wait for it to PID tune to 100. So we'll do it to 60 initially, and I will redo the PID tune to ABS temperatures once I get it enclosed. There's no sense in really doing a full PID tune to ABS or high temp, you know, if you're not going to be printing high temp for a period of time. Well, that was While that's running, I'm over here grabbing a couple of things off the printer. And those couple of things happen to be wire management pieces for the black box build. So for those of you that have been following along, I am working on, or I will be getting a black box build, and I have been doing all of the prints for the black box build on the K3, and all of the prints have been in Trilene polycarbonate CF. And I'll say those prints have been coming out very nice. This would be the top layer of the print. The top surface is coming out really good. Bottom surface looking good. A little bit of texture from the Honey Badger PEI. So I'm still getting a little shade of ghosting, but the parts are coming out great. They've been direct. Yeah, they've been um, um, dimensionally accurate. There we go. I keep thinking directionally. Dimensionally accurate. So I've been happy with that, and I just keep um, you know, every other day I go through if I'm still printing with the same roll, and I'm running it straight out of a Sunlu um, dehydrator. So every other day I go ahead and kick it off because we have had some high humidity here with rain and stuff lately, and I want to keep it dried out. How's it going, Royal Nomi? So we installed our fans. I think only one's working because I set them up for the same one. I didn't set up the other one. So while our PID tune's going on, come in here to our printer config, come down to our fans section. Once again, the first two, which are be fan 0 and fan 1, I didn't set anything up for because that would normally be your tool head. So I normally skip those. And then I would take and combine the two fans into one, or in this case, it's easy enough to let's do a little bit of copy and paste here. Call that controller fan 2, controller fan 1. And yep, fan 3. And then we'll just take this same information here, add it down there so that they'll kickstart at the same time. So we're going to run each one of these two side fans on a separate channel. We've got plenty of fan connections on this board, so it's not like we need to worry too much about it. Once again, fan 4 will be whatever type of air filtration system I'm able to put on this. Quite honestly, that's going to be the hard part because there's no Nevermore or anything that I know of that's made to go underneath here. Aaron, are you running any type of air filtration on your Micron? Or Zombie, are you? Like a Nevermore or Bento box? And if so, how'd you set yours up? Grab a configuration real fast because I can never remember the total syntax. This has a mains heated bed, and right now the light above me is flickering like you would not believe. And it is because there is no PWM cycle time set in here on that heater. Any heaters that you have that are pulling mains current, you'll want to put a PWM cycle time command in here For the US, it would be 0.0166. And I can't remember the one for the um, UK or the folks that run on 230 volts. But if you do not do that and you have LED lights in your house, they are going to flicker and cycle from this. The zero filter works for Micron. Okay, good to know. I'm going to save and close, not save and restart, because we have a PID tune going on. I want to go back to the dashboard, and our PID tune has completed. We can either say accept on the screen or save config in our GUI. I'm going to go ahead and hit accept on the screen. And you're going to see that it does a save config. And what it's going to do is in the bed, it's going to comment out the PID parameters that were there and add them all the way down at the bottom of the file. GitHub.com, Bruncho 3D zero filter. Really? You couldn't like put the whole thing there? Killing me. Thank you, sir. Okay, so we've got the PID done for the bed. Whoops. Now we need to do a PID tune for the hot end. So we're going to come down here and just copy our next command. And because the hot end's a lot faster, we'll go ahead and keep it at 245. Gets us close enough. Actually, I'm actually going to go to 260. Because all my ABS, I normally run at 255 or 260, especially I run it a little hotter, especially because I print fat. You know, if you're printing a little bit faster, one of the ways you can get more cubic volume out of your hot end is to go a little hotter so it can melt it faster. So one of the tricks. And once again, you're going to see that this heats up pretty quickly. One, it's configured to do 100% on the heat. And two, it's a ceramic heater, so they heat up pretty fast. But once we get this done, we'll go ahead and load filament, and we'll do our one. We'll baby step the motor, or actually, we just need to make sure the extruder motor is going in the right direction, right? And then we'll go ahead and set up to do our test for the extrusion to make sure that when we say we want 100 millimeters, we extrude 100 millimeters. And to do that, I take a piece of tape and I use that factory cut edge. And you can do it at like 70, but really what you want to do is a multiple of 50 plus 20, right? You never want to set your tape right at, say, I want to extrude 100 and set your tape right at 100 because you'll have no ability to measure if it goes too far. And I tend to do the 120 millimeters versus just 50 or 70 and just do a single pass of 50. Okay, so the PID tune's done. So we'll go ahead and save config, which will cause the printer to do a reboot again. And I'm going to go ahead and tell it to hold at 210 or set it for 210 so it'll come down and catch at 210. Because what we need to do is insert some of our filament. I'm just going to loop this up and over the extrusion for now. Pop it open, we should be able to get down into the gears. Okay. And we're at 210, so I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to tell it to do a filament load. And it actually pulled it out of the gears, which means my extruder is going in the wrong direction. One easy way to tell is if it starts loading, you're good. If it starts kicking it back, then your direction's wrong. Hey, MakerMind Nexus, how's it going? So all we're going to do is we're going to come in here to our extruder motor. And where our dir pin is, in front of the entire EBB, we're going to put a question mark. Save and restart. Go ahead and get our temperature back up. Pop our latch, and I want to get it just so it's down in the gears. I don't want to like manually shove it all the way. So I'm pulling up on the filament and it's pulling the whole tool head up. So I obviously know that I'm in the gears. And I'm going to tell it to load filament again. And I should be able to feel and see it pulling the filament in, which it is. Bring you guys back down here to base level. And we still don't have filament coming out, but that's no big deal. We'll tell it to extrude some more. Where's my extrusion there? 50, good, extrude. And we've got filament coming out now. So it poops. It poops. So now that we've got filament coming out, let's go ahead and set up for our measurement. So we're going to hold this up straight. We're going to take our ruler, which I've already set my tape to 120. I'm going to set it right on the top, right by the filament there. Hold the filament right up against the edge of the ruler and peel the tape off onto the filament. That gives me my line. And now I'm just going to go back down to my extrude. I'm set for 50. And I want to set to either 5 or 2. I don't want to go to 10, even though it's going to take longer by slowing it down. I'm looking for accuracy right now in the extrude. And I don't want to take any chance that it, like it skips or something trying to go too fast. All right, so that's done. Now I'm going to extrude again. Now I've told it to do 50 twice, so I've told it to do 100 millimeters. Then I'm going to take and measure when it stops again, which it stopped. And I'm going to measure what's left. And what's left is 22 millimeters. So I asked for 100 and I got 98. So we need to do some corrections. Let's come over to our initial steps here. And let me figure out where don't need to worry about bed leveling. We've already done that. Bed tilt, V tilt, quad gantry, got that done. Where's eSteps? Here we go. So there is a configuration, which is new config value is the old value times the actual extruded divided by the target extruded amount. So we asked for 100 and we got 98. So grab the calculator, because why do public math if we don't have to? Kind of big. Let's see if we can't bring that down a bit. So once again, our math is old config value times the actual extruded divided by what we asked. So we actually extruded 98 divided by 100. Then we're going to multiply that by our current values. So we come over here, go to machine, printer config, and we scroll down to our extruder. And we find our existing rotation distance. We're going to copy that. And we're going to say multiply by full V equals, and this will be our new value. So we can copy this back out, come back in here, and we'll just paste this in. And honestly, anything more than 2 or 3 places is just kind of wasted, but we'll leave it there for now. All right, just me being picky. So we'll save and restart. Now, I'll go ahead and heat that back up, 210. And I always validate that the change that we made works. So once again, we're going to go back to 120 and put our factory edge of our tape on the 120 mark on our measuring stick. Transfer the tape to the filament. And tell it to extrude 100. Yeah, well, like I said, everything's different, and it also has to do with how much tension you have on your arm and the motor current and things like that. So now we're right spot on at 20. So it's always good to verify that your number that you calculate is good. So we are good. Yeah, all things are factors. And I'll be honest with you. I copied and pasted the original value that was set for this extruder from the SaladFork, which is once again a mini stealth burner setup just like this. So should have been fine. But like you said, a little bit of difference in tightness of parts or what have you that gets there. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull this down, but I'm not going to go all the way. I'm going to go down to 145. Meanwhile, go ahead and tell the bed to start heating up, because why not? And we're going to need to print something on this. Well, actually, I'm going to let it heat up. Then I'm going to go through and do a G32. And that G32 will do a home all, quad gantry level, and then home to Z. Then after that, with everything warm, right? Then we'll go ahead and we'll do um, a probe calibrate, and that's going to set my Z height for the probe. You're going to see me make sure that I don't have any little blob on the tip there. Now that it's cooled down some, it shouldn't ooze anymore, because that will impact, because once again, we're doing nozzle, we're setting our height based on the nozzle height. So that would impact or affect our settings or our Z offset, as well as our any type of bed mesh or anything we do. So everything's there. We're going to let it heat up for a little bit while we just sit here and chat for a bit. And so for those of you that saw the post on Twitter, I am doing a 1-year streamiversary / birthday stream on February 10th. That is my actual birthday, which happens to be a normal stream day for me, a Saturday. So we will be doing a stream that day. I don't know what the screen just did there. But we will be doing a stream. There will be cake involved, and we will be doing some giveaway. Chris giving away 10 printer kits for your stream? No, no, he's not. But I did post what I have so far. I haven't heard anything from Hector. I believe I reached out to Hector, but I haven't seen anything. But I will have a LDO Motors Smart Orbiter V3, US only. Fadis is going to have a Rapido 2 hot end and a roll of AE-worthy ASA glass filled. And that is US, Canada, UK, Germany, Italy, just think Europe. KB3D is going to have two $25 gift cards, a $50 gift card, and a $100 gift card, and that's worldwide. And I'm going to be giving away a couple of Fadis Dragonfly BMO hot ends and a Fisect one of the metal Sherpa Mini kits, and I may add some other things in there. Okay. So basically, I have a few things that I bought that I've never installed on things, because before I installed them, I got something else to try out or play with. So I'm tossing a few things in there as well. Also, The black box kits should be live on February 1st. And the first set of kits are going out on February 5th. I will be in that first batch. Chris has already given me that information. I will be in that first batch. So it is quite possible that we may be doing an unboxing and review of that, of the box. Like, no printer start building that day, but we will unbox on that day or look at the box if it is here. Oh yes, yes. Like I said, I've got parts back here. I've got 3 of the FDM toolkit parts, so all the parts that go with the printed parts, to set up the FDM tool heads. So I still need 1 more. He doesn't have the full kits for those available, sub kits for those yet. So I will get the 4th one as soon as it comes in. But should be here in another day or 2. I will have 3 Revo high flow heater cores and enough. I will have enough 6mm obsidian nozzles for those. Not high flows yet because the high flow obsidians haven't come out yet. And then I'm also going to have a 4th tool head that's going to be a V6 style tool head. So it's going to have a titanium heat break, a nickel plated copper hot block, and a Slice Engineering Gamma 0.6 hardened nozzle. So all 4 nozzles are going to be 0.6. They're going to be hardened nozzles, so I should be able to run anything I want through them. Knowing that if I run glow in the dark through an obsidian, it will wear. We've been through that. We know that. That will wear. So everything's now heated up and kind of sitting there for a little bit. I'm going to, once again, I'm going to run a G32 sequence from the command line. G32. This will do a full, we'll say part of the print start. So home X, home Y, safe home Z to the middle of the bed, quad gantry level, and then home Z to the middle again. But yes, I am getting, like, I am finishing up all the electrical component mounts right now, and I will probably hold off on printing the enclosure and water cooling stuff for right now. And I'm going to start printing all the tools out in just standard PLA because there's a lot of tool prints to help with alignments of things when you're doing the build. You don't have to sit there and keep measuring everything with a calipers. And it's perfectly fine to print all of that stuff in PLA. It doesn't have to be ABS or anything. It just print all the tools out in a inexpensive filament. And then everything else is going to be black, and it's going to be done in Trilene polycarbonate CF. And in fact, the Micron has a couple of those parts. So the Z mounts back here, because that was the issue with the Z mounts, by the way. I printed the 2-hole versions instead of the 3-hole versions. So once I printed the right mounts, it worked right. It was a 26-minute print over on the K3, so no big deal. And then the actual hot end mount for this is also printed in the polycarbonate CF. So but yeah, the other thing that's starting to get to me right now, Aaron, is the LDO Millennium Milo, Millennium Mill Milo. Yeah, I need to talk to Hector. One, I need to talk to him about seeing if he wants to do anything for the birthday stream because I haven't heard back from him. But I want to get my hands on a Millennium Mill, pull up with spindle and VHD or VFD. Yeah, I think it's VFD. Okay, so we're fully homed. We're quad gantry leveled. We're fully homed. Things are warm. Now I'm going to take my trusty measuring thing, which is a whatchamacallit, a post-it note, and I'm going to do a probe calibrate. So a probe accuracy tests the probe numerous times to figure out what the deviation of the probing is. A probe calibrate will then set your Z offset initially. And you can do it cold. I wind up doing it warm, and then we'll adjust from there. Oh, well, that was... So we're going to have fun because I'm going to abort this. And now we're going to start it all over again, and hopefully it'll let me do it. Because it was tapping off the paper, which I didn't want it to. I wanted to tap off the surface. Now put the paper in there, and we'll start dropping it down. And I normally start with 0.1, drop it down until it's close. And if you go too far and the paper doesn't move, just go back up that same increment. Now go down at 0.1. Okay, that's pretty tight. So I'm going to go up. Now I'm going to go down a half. And I know if I go down another half, well, that's the 0.1. So it would be useless. So I go over to the 0.01. And all I'm doing is just trying to fine tune this in. Drop down. Normally pick up one corner of this as a little ear that I can grab hold of. Okay, I kind of like that. So I'm going to accept that. And we have to save our config. Now, one of the first things I'm going to do when it heats up or when it turns back on and gives me a chance is I'm going to home all again. Just because that print head is now close to the bed. They're both warm, especially if you're doing it at ABS temps. I just prefer not to have it that close. Now what we need to do is go over to our Orca Slicer. And we need to set up a printer in Orca Slicer. So one of the things that we can do, or one of the things that I'm going to do to make my life easier, since I don't have anything that's this size, that also deals with enclosed and yada, 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 is, well, I've got a SaladFork, right? Which is a 160 build volume. So I'm going to grab that SaladFork. I'm going to modify that profile for a printer. It's easy enough to go in and set that to 180 by 180. for the X and Y. And then the print height, I want to say was actually 170. Do you remember, Aaron or Zombie, off the top of your head? Hey, Stephen Poole, how are you doing? Welcome on in. We have done our initial commissioning steps. We've got our screen. It's sitting down on the table right now, but we've got our screen working with Clipper Screen. I'll do the physical install of the printed parts here in a couple of minutes. We're actually probably off stream later tonight. Ad. We got an ad break going on. Another minute. Actually, I guess I can come in here and see what I set my Z height for. X, upper Z. Position max, 165. So we will set our max in Orca Slicer to 165. And we're going to save this and we're going to change it to Micron Plus with 0.4 nozzle. Don't have a name for it yet. Does anybody want to name it? Hey, Aaron F. Geared, how's it going? Aaron, you missed all the cool announcements. Call it that for now. And that we're going to use PLA profile. Yeah, standard SaladFork baseline. Flip this over to and what I'm going to do is a simple cube. So I'm just going to add a primitive. I'm going to rescale it and make it a 120 by 120 by 0.4. So 2-layer. Probably not going to let it go the full 2 layers because I want to make sure that the first layer holds down well. Go ahead and slice that. Need to give it the right IP address before I try and send that. And then we'll go ahead and upload and print that. So what we're going to be doing here is just printing a 120 by 120 cube. And what that's going to allow us to do is test the first layer height. And we'll just make adjustments, get our first layer dialed in. Then we can actually go and print something, whatever we want. And speaking of which, does anybody have an idea for a first print? Something relatively small, not huge. We're not going to do a turbo snail. I don't need a 3-hour print. Squirrels. Do you have a squirrel file? LDO cube? Eh. Oh, we haven't done any input shaping on this yet either. So we'll probably need to do that. I guess I could do that now. And then what we'll do is redo it once I get the panels on. It's easy enough to do because the toolhead board has an ADXL on it. So use your Dapper Dan duck. There you go. I need Evil Diesel to send me the dragon head for my Death Racer, because that would be a good one to use as a test. Dad, do you? Yeah, I was about to sit there going, "What's that noise? What's rattling?" And I realized it's the filament rubbing up against the top there. Probably bring you guys in on a closer view as we start to get this first layer going. Going to do a bed mesh. We're using camp, so yeah, that lighting sucks. Where's your lighting saturation? Okay, let me see if I can't grab that over here on the other system. Okay. So, um, I'm gonna do a break. So Aaron, you got the ERCFA, right? Or not the ERCFA, well, the ERCFA board, and you were looking for a mount. Did you ever find a mount for it? Okay, so the one doesn't have support, the other one does. That makes gotcha. I was wondering why there was two different files there. You have filament going down. I'm gonna go through and do a brim. is always great for first layer. Drawing. Nice little support there. Said scale to 50 tall. Okay. Oh, don't know if you all can tell. Might have to switch over to the other camera and just hand mount or hand do it because the color saturation on that other one right now is pretty bad. But there's our first layer going down. Looking pretty good. We're not seeing any bubbles. So I'm not 100% sure. Sorry. Let me see if I can get this to fit up here for a second. Probably not. That might actually be pretty darn spot on. And no ripples. This little piece right here that you're seeing in the front was actually a little piece where it didn't stick down at first. It was like a little wisp that just got pulled on. So that's not an issue. We'll let it get this first layer done. And right as it starts the second layer, we'll let it get a couple of lines going just to see as it ramps up. Then we'll stop it because what I want to do is then try and do the pull test to see if these layer lines are staying together. If they're not and they come apart, then we just drop it down a little bit, try it again. If they are sticking together really well, then we're good. And we can go ahead and start our squirrel. But yeah, this is printing wonderfully. Looking good. Hey Ozzy, how's it going? Welcome on in. Yeah, get Skyfire. It's gonna run like 28 minutes, 27 minutes, 28 minutes, but I'm basically running it standard Voron, so 4 perimeters and or 4 walls, 5 top and bottom, and 40% infill. But that's kind of the way I do it just about every print these days. Just basic, unless it calls for something different like my droid builds, I'm having to really follow that or follow their guides for perimeters and everything because you have to keep certain things really light. But so I did go over and I did post a I did post a link on or a comment on Twitter earlier today. All right, I don't have to work about everything going on February 10th. So February 10th is my actual birthday. It is a Saturday, which is normally our longer stream. And we will be celebrating my birthday and my 1-year stream anniversary. Technically, I started streaming in January of last year. So, but we're going to be doing a stream anniversary party and a birthday party combined. And we will have some things to give away during that day as we celebrate together. So if you can make it that morning, there will be some things that will be worldwide, some things that won't be. Some things are pretty much like North America, Asia, and Europe, but that's because the vendors are going to be shipping things out directly. So I will be getting certain pieces of information. We could give away a house and a speedboat. I may print a house and a speedboat and give them away, but that would be about it. Okay, so right in the middle of the bed, I am starting to see a little bit of some, not sure, whoops, we can get this in here. I'm seeing a little bit of raise up right there in the middle. And it looks like some all the way in the very back corner there. So with that amount of raise up at this point, sorry, trying to one hand manhandle that. There we go. With that amount of just going to move it back up here. With that amount of raise up and the couple of places that it is, I'm just going to raise this up like 0.01. And we'll see if that cleans up as it continues back. I don't want to go up too much because we didn't have a problem in the front here. But I am seeing more as it's going to the back. But yeah, I ran through the list a little bit earlier. LDO Motors is providing a Orbiter 3, a Smart Orbiter 3. So that's a full extruder with hot end with Smart. So it's got the runout sensor built in. And that is US only. Betis is providing a Rapido 2 and a spool of ABS glass filled. They're AE worthy ABS glass filled. And that is going US, Canada, most of Europe, and Asia. And then KB3D. Let me pull up my notes. Yeah, KB3D has gift certificates or gift cards that we're going to do. We're going to have 2 at $25, 1 at $50, and 1 at $100. And that's worldwide. And then I've got 2 Phaetus Dragonfly BMO hot ends and a FISEC Metal Sherpa Mini extruder that I will be giving away, and that's US and Canada. I'm paying for shipping there, so I'd be willing to do others, but I may have to ask you to help me with the shipping there because I have no idea what international shipping is going to cost me. Okay, so we had a little bit left, so I'm going to pop it up one more. And once again, as soon as it starts to do its second run, I will go ahead and stop it. And I'm going to go ahead and save the config as well. So the other things that we were talking about, Aaron, was KB3D. Chris has already told me that they are bringing out. Okay, so this is coming apart. That might have been coming up because it wasn't sticking. See how this has come apart? That means I probably went the wrong way and I needed to go down closer rather than up. So we had just moved that up. Let me see what I moved it up by. 0.025 is what I moved it up. So I'm now going to move it down 0.025. And then some. So another 0.01. So I'm now going down 0.01 from this print as a starting point. And we will rerun that cube. Because we really want to get that first layer dialed in before we get going. And that's what I'm looking for, is I should have a first layer that I should be able to pull on and it doesn't pull apart. But I'm also not getting the waviness. And you can get waviness because you're not close enough, so it's not sticking, or you're too close and it's basically bunching up. And we're going to be doing a bunch of other cool builds here on stream soon as well. So basically after the Micron, we'll be working on black box during the week until we get the Trident 350 done. Once the Trident 350 is done, then the black box may go to the Saturday stream where I've got a longer stream time. And during the week, we will start working on our droids and our battle bots. So as we had discussed previously, Mrs. Dragon has decided she wants to run the battle bots. Because I started talking about doing some ant weight battle bots. So she has been all over the place trying to find ant weight battle bots. So I will show you kind of what I've got going here in a second. And this will be what I'm working on right now, is cleaning the supports off the arm. That is one of the option build types for the chopper that I'm also going to do. So I'm building a DO droid, which is the unicycle droid from Star Wars. And I'm going to build a chopper. I may also wind up doing like a BD1 down the road. And I'm thinking about possibly even doing a big full sail size chopper. The one I've got going right now is going to be the mini chopper, so the 40% size. And let's see here. So from a ant weight BattleBot perspective, this is going to be the chassis. So this is the same hot pink that we're using for the Trident build. I'm probably going to have to buy some more to be able to print out all the ERCFA parts as well. But the N20 motors will be held in place by these two pieces. There will be a cover that goes on, This is actually the bottom side of the robot. There's going to be a carbon fiber quadcopter arm, and this is the weapon. This will be spinning on an 1806 quadcopter motor. We're going to put screws on there to allow for a different bite. But this was actually printed in the polycarbonate carbon fiber. And I'm going to print a couple of different types of blades. I may do like a PET G carbon fiber and a couple of other things to see what works best as a weapon. But this is, once again, the pop pink. And I've also got another chassis that is PLA and Sorcerer's Red PLA Pro. Yeah, we're going to be building some ant weight battle bots, and the ant weight is 150 gram class. So kind of looking forward to doing that and having a few other things to kind of play around with here on stream. You know, we've got the tanks, we've done the big death racers, we've done the dragster. Hopefully this year we'll be able to run some of those. Hey, there's Mrs. Dragon. How's it going? I'm not giving away your secrets per se. I'm just talking about what we're going to be bringing. And then while this is printing, I know I mentioned about doing it on the last stream and I didn't, so we'll pull up a couple of things as well, because I've got, I think the only thing I'm waiting for is the leg motors for Chopper. And so Chopper, we'll kind of set Chopper right here. These would be the rear legs, or the legs. And then here's Chopper and all his attitude. So he'll sit like this. He'll have a wheel in the front. His head is going to turn. And there's another mod, so I may print another body out so that this front arm right here can actually articulate out. But this will be Chopper. I think I'm doing Chopper, and Creatix Brit is doing Cheap. So I've got these pieces and all the little accoutrement pieces that go with him. Like I said, I have everything but the motors for the legs for Chopper. And then Dio, here's the head and nose cone piece for Dio, give you kind of an idea of the size. And this is pretty much printed in base mode. This is kind of squishy because we got to keep the weight on the head very light. I may have to do some repairs here with some resin, with some UV curing resin. But the wheel, the drive wheel, is basically this size. That'll be the drive wheel with lazy Susans that act as the bearing blocks for the wheels, and a bunch of printed parts. So I will probably do some basic like sanding and initial like sand, prime, and then spray paint, at least the basic colors, because some things are going to be green for the edge of the wheel, and then for the drive wheel, and then like white for the outside body for the most part. And then we'll build it and then we'll come back in and we'll work on, you know, full painting and weathering and stuff like that on both of them. I just don't know if you guys want to watch me just sanding things. I don't think watching somebody sand things is necessarily a great stream to watch. Yeah, Maker My Nexus. She pops in every once in a while. Normally, she lurks in the stream when she's gone to keep an eye on me and to get mad at me when I'm staying on here till like 10, 11 o'clock at night on a weeknight when I'm supposed to be working the next day. But so I want to let this get at least to where we had. Actually, we'll let the whole thing go. It's not going to take that long, and then we'll start the squirrel. Because at this point, I think if we need to go any more down, it's going to be like 0.005 at a time. Oh, and another ad break in progress. No more ads for you for a while, Maker Mind. You're welcome, my friend. Hey, Pete, welcome on in. Yeah, so we're doing our first layer test. I thought we were too close to, at first, and then when I went to peel it up, it just came apart as I peeled it up. So I was like, oh, we were actually too far away. So then we moved it down a bit. So we're down 0.01 more than we were when we first started off on the last print. So we're trying to see, make sure that we're getting a good first layer. And then we'll go ahead after this print. If we don't have any issues with any rippling, then we will get started on a squirrel, because we got to print a squirrel. Why not? Kit Fire, I think it was Kit Skyfire said she wanted a squirrel. So I said, show me a squirrel. And she sent me a link for a squirrel. So we're going to do a squirrel. No worries, Maker Mind Nexus. I know you got some sitch going on, so situation called life. We've all been there. We have all been there. I'm going to scooch it down just 0.005 a little bit more. Not seeing a lot of rippling or anything like that, but I'm just looking at it. I just think it needed to squish just a tad bit more. And it's kind of neat looking at this. I'm not sure if it'll show up on the camera, but this is a Polymaker Starlight Comet. So I'm not sure if you can actually see, there you go, yeah, you can. Some of the sparkle that's in this filament. What makes it a little bit harder when you're looking at a gold plate, you see this color and it's sparkling back at you. You're like, am I looking through the lines or at the lines? But we got good lines going. And a little bit of rippling once again in that back corner. Which quite honestly could be a fingerprint. I have not washed this plate since I took it out and manhandled it a little bit. So it may have fingerprint oils on it. We can give it a clean. Once again, we'll do the same thing. We'll go to peel this up. If it breaks apart when it peels up, then I will go ahead and drop it down slightly more. If it sticks to itself and I've got good layer adhesion, then chances are that spot is just oil fingerprints because it's not rippling anywhere else at that spot. And it's sort of already gone. So it looks like that's probably just a thumbprint, an oily thumbprint. So after this, I'll go ahead and wipe it down with some isopropyl alcohol. Now, this is how bad it was. Mr. Dragon also was out and about, and I'm going to call them fleaways, but the little ones that you can, the little battle bots that you can get, it's about like that wide by that wide. Like really, like smaller than the one I was showing you the body for. Um, he grabbed a couple, 2-pack of those at a store. And they've got like little game pads for the controls. Um, so she wants to start practicing already because I'm not getting parts fast enough to build them so that she can practice. So I told her I need to go and get the my Mechanum Death Racer from Evil Diesel as well, so she can start practicing with that. Okay, so a little bit on the very back edge and right there. So either we need to drop it down ever so slightly or we're good and we just have some fingerprint. So like before, I'm going to go ahead and stop it now that we get it going down. And we'll go ahead and scoop up the corner there. And this is, as I'm picking it up from this corner, the lines were going this way. So we're going in the same direction as the lines were. So if it's going to break apart when I peel this up, it should. And all right, so we're still too high. Still too high. So we're going to drop this down another 0.1 or 0.01, 0.015. Save that config. And quite honestly, don't want to try again. We should be good. I will wipe it down with some isopropyl, and then we'll just start trying to get a squirrel going. It's 8 o'clock. I don't want to be here too long. I mean, it's Tuesday night. I hear that Big Jano's like birthday is right about now as well. It's probably better to clean this when the bed's not at 60°, by the way. It'll work a lot better, but we're there. We'll say squirrel. Making noise. And so, yes, for those that arrived late, also for the birthday stream, um, per KB3D Chris, he should have the first kits of the black box ship out on the 5th of February. And I will be in the first batch of kits. So it is quite possible I should have black box here on my or by my birthday, or maybe arriving on my birthday date. And if so, we will unbox and go through the initial look at the box or at the components on stream. Sorry, just reorganizing some things. And yes, I am back there still printing parts in polycarbonate CF. Right now I'm working through, I think it's like section 9 or 10, which is the electronics. And eventually, the other two that I have is the enclosure and the water cooling. So when I'm done with the electronic stuff, rather than going on, I'm going to start printing out the tools, as each section has quite a few tools that go with it, just to make it easier to line things up as you're building the frame and such. So I will start printing that stuff out in PLA so that we can get that stuff going as well. And so that way, this weekend we'll be working on the Trident again, and we may push on the Trident a little bit to try and get it done. Maybe we'll do that next week, since this will be done this week. Maybe this Saturday and then the Tuesday, Thursday stream next week will be Trident, so we can get the Trident initial build done, and then that way we can do black box on the Saturday when we have the longer streams. And then we'll also have ERCFA and a few other things to do for the Trident. That'll be interesting because we're going to do an ERCFA 2 build with cottontail and all that good stuff. So it just did its bed mesh for camp. Now it comes to the front corner and it finishes heating up the nozzle. Then it'll go and start printing. Okay, Skyfire. So you're going to go with Zoll. I'm going to stick with Self Burner and Clockwork 2, partly because I've got a toolhead section that I'm going to pull out of my other Trident and put in it that's running something I can't show you guys. And then because it's a bigger machine, I figure might as well put a tool that can do bigger stuff faster in it. And also when we build that, it's going to have the like the filament cutter and that stuff. Yep, you know what it is, Maker Mind Nexus. Zombie does too. But it's going to have the filament cutter. It's going to have the cottontail on it and all of that good stuff. So it'll have the filament sensor and the cutter and the tool head. So I've got to make sure and print those right parts. Hey, Shaudell, how's it going? I did find the spreadsheet so I can go through and figure out what all I need to print now. So like I said, I'm probably going to have to buy at least another spool of pop pink, which is the primary color. And I have most of a spool. There's very few accent colors on a Trident. So I think I have enough of the pop blue to do everything I need from an accent color wise for the ERCFA. So I just need to start getting that built. Now, one of the other things that the Micron came with, or excuse me, the Micron files have are the printed pieces to mount the set of lights for it. So I will probably roll a set of lights for this as well and install a set of lights. I just have to figure out how to route the darn things. Yeah, because on a standard one, you would bring them over, plug them in, and then run them right down the channel here. I just need to see if I can get that to work. You've seen a mod for the Zoll that adds the filament cutter. I'm sure there are plenty of mods out there to enable it to run a, like an enraged rabbit carrot feeder or something of that sort. And by the way, this is I'll say my standard speeds for a Voron, which makes it look so much faster when you're running on a smaller printer. But it's doing like 80 millimeters a second. So it hasn't even really ramped up, but it's because it's a smaller print. So the Papillo light, I've heard and seen that. Pull that up. I have seen, there we go. Yeah, that's the belt extruder. Yeah. Kevin, aka Sam's. Yeah. Yep. So this is that belt extruder. The, yeah, the dual wheel, dual belt extruder. So it gives you this is sort of like what Proper Printing was doing with his resin-based prints, but it was a belt system. But I think this has two belts, so it's a longer gripping section. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. So I think the light's the one on the left, right, and then this is the standard one, or the other way around. Oh, this is, yeah, the one on the right is the light. Yeah, this is the standard size. This is the smaller one. Yeah, I saw this. I can't remember who mentioned it before, but I saw this and I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. May have to give that one a try. Yeah, John Schoen, aka Proper Printing, has a lot of cool ideas and cool stuff. Some of the things he comes up with is just, mind blown. So how's it going, Mr. Wizix? So we think we got our first layer dialed in. We got our fans installed, and yep, both of them. I can see where I'm at. That one. Yep, they're both working. We got our clipper screen running. It's not physically installed, and the thing I'm looking at is this one goes on, and then I'm wondering if I had to print one of these mirrored or if they were both actually supposed to be printed like that. Would make sense that one of these would be mirrored. I need to take a look at that, see if I need to print another one of these out. But, you know, this would be the top cover for it. And then we'll screw in from the back through these, through the screen into the front case. And then a couple of M3s will hold the screen in place. Yeah, so this printer is pretty good. It's printing well. Well, I say it's printing well. This is the first print other than some 120 by 120 squares to test for first layer. This is the first time it's pushed plastic. I didn't push plastic off stream, so. Okay, you're gonna do the inverted mod? Oh, look at you. That's pretty nice. Yeah, so the Trident kit that I'm building right now is a 350 Trident. So it would, yeah, it goes edge to edge on my table. So when I say edge to edge, I mean edge to edge of the black part of the table. So it's big, and it's so it's the 350 build. I was thinking about doing inverted electronics, but I've already got the panels cut, and I don't know if the panels are different. If the deck panel is not different, then I would consider doing inverted. But if it's different, I kind of already had the panels cut. KB3D cut the panels. No mod for the panels, even the deck panel. If that's the case, I may look into the inverted electronics mod. Okay, I'll have to take a look at that. Because yeah, on a 350 printer, I mean, a 300 printer is hard enough to flip over on its side and pick up and move around. And that's the one thing I really like with the 0G is you pop off like 6 magnetic clips and the panel just pops up and you have all your electronics right there. In the case of mine, it's clear panels, so you can actually see the electronics all the time. And my crappy wiring, but one day I'll go back in and rewire it for cleanliness. You have a 2.4 250, you'd love to trade for a Trident kit any day. Well, my Trident has my logo on the side panels, so that one's not going anywhere. My 350, once again, isn't going to go anywhere because that one's going to have the ERCFA on it. But making my Nexus, you're still going to Remurf, so there's a good possibility you're going to see this bad boy and possibly the SaladFork at Rocky Mountain. Depending on how much I bring, I don't know. If I bring the K3, then chances are it's just going to be one of the other smaller printers with the K3. I don't know if I'll be able to bring 3 of them. Yeah, my 2.4s are really nice. all of my Vorons I've got printing well. And so, yeah, I personally would probably keep the 2.4 that you got. So it's weird. I haven't done a 250 size, you know, 2.4 try it. I've got all of mine have been 300s, and then this last Trident is going to be a 350. Yeah, my 300 Trident's really nice. I really like my Ender 5 turn 0G because that's 370 by 370 by like 420, and it's great for doing single piece helmets. I'd probably still have to break up the helmet if I did like the Fallout, was it T75 power armor, just because of how big that is. But it's also not enclosed, so that's a PLA based helmet printer. But the 350 Trident now can be enclosed. Be enclosed. Just wait for Phoenix. In order for me to do Phoenix, I need a larger space, or I have to fully convert the garage for workshop space, because Phoenix is just huge. Just like Black Box. Like Black Box is going to get built, and it's going to reside in here until the day I move out of this house, because I don't see me moving Black Box around. I mean, I of course will move it around somewhat if I've got other things being built during streams, but yeah, it's going to get built, and once it finally gets built, it ain't going nowhere. Yeah, just stack them. Add a few more extrusions to the top of Phoenix, and add a build or a sheet across the top of it, and then just stack a couple of printers on top of Phoenix. Ay, ay, ay. I mean, that's in a sense what I've got behind me already is um, you know, the multi-tiered setup. So I've got everything at the top, and then I've got stuff down at the bottom. I've got a couple of ender wires. I've got the Mark IV. I've got junk down here, so I need to clean up some stuff so I can move other printers onto the bottom deck. And then eventually what I want to do is I still need to get an electrician to call me back, because literally on the other side of this wall is a good size crawl space, like good size, darn it. There's a good size crawl space, like you can get in there and work on the opposite side of this wall behind me here. And right there is, I'm right above the garage, and that's right where my main panel is. Well, I want them to come up out of the panel with appropriate gauge wire and run me a set of 20-watt outlets over here, or 20 amp, so 2 circuits, 20 amp outlets over here, that I can then run all of my printers on dedicated 20 amp circuits. And then everything else, like the lights and anything else that I run, I can run off the standard 15 amp circuits for the rest of the room. So I stopped popping the 15 amp breaker. And then that way, you know, I shouldn't have any more problems, and I can actually get printers on both the top and the bottom completely behind me. 12, 2, 4 to 5 outlet. Yeah, the thing is because where I'm at, and this is a new build, I want to have a certified electrician do the work. I damn sure ain't touching the panel. But you know, have him come in and rough in and add the extra outlets. Shouldn't be that hard, right? And like I said, I've had them run wire out. So they pulled lines up, ran wire completely to the opposite end through the attic, popped a hole in the eave, came down the side of the house and metal conduit. Yeah, I'm sorry, plastic conduit to a metal junction box into the ground with metal that went out to the shed, popped out of the ground with metal flex into the shed. And I have a sub panel in the shed with 320 amp circuits out to the shed, because that's where I run my you know, my big table saws and the Shapeoko are out in the shed. And I had them run the extra circuit out there, so if I wanted to, like right now there's 320 amps. No, there's 220 amps, my bad. And the ability that way is I could put a mini split out there if I wanted to down the road. But yeah, that's got like the Shapeoko, the big miter saws, the table saws, stuff like that out there in the shed. If I can have a 220 volt Milo mill, don't tempt me, Nick. I really want to get a Milo mill and do the full package with a 110 spindle and VFD. Sometimes in the next 30 days, you should be getting a new printer. Oh, really? What kind of printer are you going to get Skyfire? Or are you saying I need to get rid of things to make room for the next round of toys? Maybe you'll stream this assembly? Okay. Well, correct, but Fabrico is currently doing pre-orders, and one's for the kit and one's for a full shebang with a 110 volt spindle and VFD. I think it's an air-cooled spindle and a VFD. So, I mean, if that works for you, that works. If you want to do a liquid-cooled spindle, then you can go out and source your own. Just do the kit. Hey, Creatix Brit, how are you doing? Welcome on in, my dear. Now, this is twice now that you've missed me showing stuff off, right? So, for Dio, we've got, yeah, see if I can't get things lined up here. A little bit hard because I don't have the actual drive wheels. Let me get rid of these. So this will give you an idea of the size for Dio's wheel. That'll be the wheel portions. And I've got everything printed out for Dio now. And then Chopper, which you've seen, I mean, you've got cheap printed out, correct? So for Chopper, these are his legs. And his body and head. And of course, he'll have a little, we'll say a mini palm dish on his head. He'll have a third wheel out front. And I'm thinking of reprinting the body. Actually, I've printed everything but the body piece to allow this top arm to swivel out. So the head will rotate. There's mods for one of the arms to swivel out, and there's another mod to make his periscope go up and down. So there's options here, but either way, when I start to build him, I'm going to do at least the basic sanding, prime and initial white coat first, and I won't do that on stream. I may video it, but I won't stream it just because it's hard to set up a camera when you're doing that type of work. But when we do the rest of the painting, like painting the accents and stuff, we'll do that on stream. But I've got all of the parts for Dio and all of the parts for Chopper printed. I'm waiting on the motors for Chopper's legs to come in. They're still en route from China. I think they get here next week-ish. So, and then the Antweight BattleBot, this is the body for the Antweight BattleBot. It'll have motors and wheels on the side. And then it's going to have a quadcopter arm that comes out that makes the arm that will hold the motor. And this will be the weapon for it. So it's going to be a cute little sucker. But we'll be building these on stream. Oh, Pezliz just ordered a shirt. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pezliz. Apparently, Mrs. Dragon has been yelling at me that I need to not only have a unisex shirt, but I need to set up for a female shirt as well. So you may see that option here shortly as well. No, there's not a circular saw blade. That is for the 150 gram Antweight class. And there are options that I have seen where people basically take metal rulers and cut them down to size and use those as a metal blade. But I need to see how much weight I have to work with. So in some aspect, Nick, she has gotten her first Voron kit from LDO. It was called the Cocoa Press, which is basically the frame of a V0. But yeah, I think Pezliz needs to get a Trident or a 2.4 in like a 250 size. Because that's about what your other printers are at, is about like a 250 size. Not like the bigger 300 size. Uh-oh. See, maybe she's already got a LDO kit to build on stream, Nick. exciting things to announce soon. So my exciting things, I announced some stuff on Twitter, and I've talked about it a couple of times on stream here. So not this Saturday, but next Saturday, which is February 10th, my actual birthday. Yeah, she needs an official Voron in her collection. I can agree with that. I will be doing some giveaways during that stream. I will have some items to give out. We will have a Smart Orbiter V3 from LDO Motors, and that will be US only. Betis has provided a Rapido 2 and a spool of AE-worthy ABS glass filled, and that's shipping to the US, Canada, a lot of European countries, and Asia. And KB3D is going to be doing two $25 gift certificates, one $50 and one $100 gift certificate. Those are worldwide. And I'm going to be adding in two Fadis Dragonfly BMO hot ends and a Bisect Metal Sherpa Mini extruder. I did see that they announced the Dremel attachment, and funny enough, I have a Dremel 3000 and a flex tip for it. So yeah, I may have something like that around in the background as we start working on droids and other things. Or maybe I'll have to build another stealth press specifically for that to use out in the garage or the shed. You never know. So Britt, I don't know what we printed, but we printed our first ever print here on this printer. Well, first ever real print that wasn't a test cube to test for the first layer adhesion. And I would say that our first layer is really good. I'm actually thinking that we might be able to go down even a tiny bit further. And great if I can find the, there we go. You see how that's kind of like could possibly go down just a tad bit more? But built-in supports. So we'll bust off that support. Take off these two little ear supports. And we printed this based on Kit Skyfire's suggestion. Pretty sure it was Kit Skyfire. But we have a squirrel. And once again, this, whoop, squirrel down. It ran off to hide its nut. I like the tail and how the tail actually does the little open up there. But this is Polymaker Polylite Starlight Comet. So I'll have to take a print of this and post it. So maybe Britt will have a squirrel sighting today. But not bad for a first print on a newly commissioned printer. In fact, we'll set it down there and can't get it to focus. Little squirrel found its nut. There we go. So we have a couple of pictures that we can post. So we haven't done any extrusion multiplier tuning or anything like that. All we did was did our eSteps and we printed. So we proved that we can print and that we can push plastic. Kind of next up would be pulling the filament and doing panels, which I'll probably do between now and Thursday, so that Thursday we'll have panels on. We'll have our screen mounted. All of these are kind of things that we've done on various other printers. Panels are going to mount the exact same way as any of the other Vorons will mount. But that way, when we come back, we can do some input shaping and we can start printing some higher temp materials. So maybe we'll print another squirrel out in ABS. How does that sound to everybody? You know, because we'll be doing higher temperatures at that point too, we'll go through and we'll do another probe calibrate. So we'll bring everything up to temperature. We'll let it sit for a little bit at temp. And then we will go ahead and run our probe calibrate again and try and set our first layer offset again. And then once we're done with that, we'll go ahead and start printing, and we'll print another squirrel so that we can compare and contrast our two squirrels. So, and with that, I think it's what? It's 8:40. We're getting, I want to say we're getting late because it's not, we've been going for 3 hours. About a good time. I, for one, am starting to get a little hungry though. Let's see who might be out there. I think, Britt, you don't start until 9, if I'm correct. To be out here in La La Land. Ugly Mood doing some painting. Astro Connect doing some Lego. Tuner and Buana are playing some games. So, um, thought Jano was going to stream, but I am not seeing Big Jano online at the moment. Can anybody check Twitch real fast and see if he posted on Twitch that he was or was not going to stream today? Not seeing anything readily about him not streaming. I figured he would be streaming and be online by now. Not seeing him online. Okay, you're getting ready now. Okay. Well, we can hang out and chat for a little bit. Like I said, what I'll do is I'll heat this back up and um we'll pull the filament. Maybe we can start putting some panels on, but I want to pull the filament first. We have to be careful of our screen because it's not mounted. And like I said, for whatever reason, I'm looking like one of these should have been mirrored, but it said to print two of these, which didn't make sense. I'm talking about these pieces. It looks like it should have been mirrored and it wasn't. So, of course, there's some other skirt stuff. Like there's some covers, front covers here, a couple of other things that are just, niceties. So we can work on the skirt, doing the rest of the skirts a little bit later once we get the panels on. And that's the nice thing about a Voron is you do your unload and then it's just a simple lift and unclip. Or what I do is you can either adjust it so that it fully comes out or just do another like retract. And then you have the ability to just pull it the rest of the way out. What am I doing? I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. We need this to cool back down. And once that's cooled off, we can shut it down. Let's get off any excess. Now, one of the other things I want to do is try and cover up these channels. I mean, we will have the belt pieces, but I want to cover up these channels some. And unfortunately, I don't have any 1515 like that rubber stuff that I was using. So we're definitely going to need to print some 1515 covers or belt covers. Looks like it's go this way. Let me grab. I'm going to scoot my M3 nuts out of the way. We're going to squeeze our belts, and that should allow us to get our belts through the belt cover, squeezing them together, hopefully. There we go. Belt cover will come down. Make sure it's fully into the corner so you're clearing your belt. Line up our M3 nut. And we'll grab some of our M3x8 screws. And we'll get our belt covers on while we're waiting for things to cool off. Like I said, just little things. We're just going to be prettying it up a little bit. And probably what I'll do is I will print some cover material out of black just because I think that will look good. And it won't be like too much or anything like that. Do it in black. It'll cover up well, and it's not going to be like some accent piece that's going to pop out at you when you're looking at the printer. Of course, you might like that. I've seen lots of people that have added like colored strips to an ender or something like that to make it stand out. Again, I just started 8 minutes. Okay. He's got his little countdown started. whatever reason, I think I have a couple of extra screws over on this side. I can't remember why I put them there. Maybe thinking I was going to put um, a filter on this side, but that won't work um, because English is hard sometimes. That won't work because of the gantry. The flying gantry goes up and down, so you'd only put it on the back or side if it's a trident. Normally, the one for a 2.4 goes under the bed. Let's see if there's anything else that I can put over here because I'm not going to take um, the frame apart to try and get extra screw or extra M3 nuts out. That's for sure. Sounds like our hot end has cooled off because that fan just shut off, but the roller fans are still running. We'll go ahead and shut down the printer. Give it a little bit to do its thing on shutting down. Another nice thing about having a screen is you can tell when it fully shuts down the CB1. Should be able to. Or the Big Tree Tech might just be a splash screen in the firmware. Go ahead and power down and unplug it. And around here and do this last corner. Push your belts together and then pop it through. Jano gets preference. I'll agree with that. And if Jano is up now, we will jump over to Jano. He's got about 3 minutes or so to go. Once he pops on, we will jump over to Jano and wish him a happy, happy, happy birthday. Oh, I feel like that not popped out on him. Okay, so we've got our um, belt covers on. We've got handles. We've got some skirt accent pieces. We've got some panel pieces, which I will start putting these on after I grab some food and while we start watching Jano. Because in order to do the panels, I got to one figure out which two sizes I have because the top and rear panel use the thinner tape, and then your side panels will use a thicker tape, which means they need a thicker printed piece. So this would be for back and top, where this one, the thicker depth to it, would be for your side panel. So I basically have to sit here and sort out all of my panel clips. And then once we get the panel clips sorted, then it's I've got to go ahead and put all the tape on before starting to install panels. I'll be able to work on that on the side as we're doing other stuff, or as we're watching piano. Getting the feeling like I printed way too many pieces. Okay. Looks like he's getting there, but still not there just yet. On Gano. Please stick around for the raids. We can go and raid them all together. I know some of you may already be over there keeping a watch on them. But let's raid them all together and wish them a happy birthday. Okay, looks like he's there. So I'm going to go ahead and get a raid started over to Big Jano. Oh, got it. And thanks everybody for being here. Thank you for chilling out with me tonight. The Micron is almost complete, and we will soon be done with the Micron and moving on to some bigger and better machines. So thanks everybody, and let's go hang out with Big Jano. We'll see you on Thursday night.